Today I'm going to be breaking down the vocal mix for Is It Better by Vandross and Desta. Now, an important thing to note is I didn't get any beat stems for this, which is kind of unfortunate, but you just got to make it work. Sometimes that happens. So here's what it sounds like.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day. All day, I give you what you want, what I beg, all day. Yeah, is it better than you thought it was?
And that's the gist of it. So there's a lot of big harmony stacks and some ad-libs and a double on the lead and all that good stuff. But we're going to start with the lead vocal. I'm going to mute everything else for now and go through that because I tend to start with his lead vocal and then build everything around it. He and I have a really good working relationship. We've been working together for about like a year and a half at this point. We've talked a lot about how he likes his vocals processed and how he likes to hold back from over-processing as much as possible, but again, doing what we need to make the record feel finished and polished and all that good stuff. For mixing in general for me, I don't want to step on the art at all, and for his music, it's very vocal heavy, and all that art is in his ad-lib runs and how he inflects his voice, all the harmony stacks, all that stuff. So we want to preserve that and accentuate it as much as possible without stepping on it. I don't over-edit his stems. The only thing I tend to do is sort of clean up the session in a way that makes sense for me, but I leave all of his breaths in there and all that stuff because he really wants those in there because it makes it more human, it makes it feel better, all that good stuff. Let's turn off the lead vocal chain for now and just listen to what it sounds like without anything.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Excellent take. His vocal chain is currently a 87 AI through the Universal Audio 6176. I believe that's what the channel strip is called. It's basically a 610 preamp and an 1176 in one unit. We like it, but I think we're going to make some upgrades soon. That being said, here's the first step of this chain. All it is the 1073, adding about 10 dB of gain. No EQ engaged, literally just gain.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Now, I'm going to mute the beat again so that you guys can check out, aside from the level change, the color change.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
So yes, it brings it up, obviously 10 dB, but it also is saturating it a little bit. So part of the reason why people like 1073 so much is that they just have really nice harmonic content that they add to the source. So going forward, you guys might wonder why I have 3 EQs in a row on this. I think the way I started this mix is just with the magma strip, which is high passing up to 110. It's ducking a little bit of 250, about 2.5 dB, and taking a little bit of the lows out. So I'm going to go in the order that I added stuff, but then I ended up adding an F6 beforehand for a couple of reasons. But first, let's just listen to this. Start without it.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Now, you'll notice it gets quieter, but that's because we're taking a lot of stuff away. We're high passing up to 110, minus 2.5 dB of 250, and minus 1 dB of the lower end of this band. I like this EQ a lot because I can't overthink things. It's only like 3 options, and it's really good for like musical tone shaping. So with that in mind, let's check out the F6. Normally, thinking back on this, I might do this differently. I might just take more out of 250 on the magma strip and then add the presence back here. The reason I didn't do it on the channel strip is because there's only one midband, so I can only select one frequency on the midband, and I decided to use it to cut some of the mud away. So if we listen to the difference with the F6 and without it.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Now, I put this before the magma strip in the final version of this record. I could have put it after, but at the same time, I don't know how much of a difference it would make. Let's just see how it sounds if we do it in the reverse order.
All day, I fiend for you always, all.
Pretty much sounds the same because mathematically it's all the same. It's not like I'm saturating it more with the drive section on the magma strip. So yeah, it's still adding and taking away the same amount of frequencies. So I personally don't love the 87 AI. There's a lot of scooped mids on it, which is unfortunate. So I tend to add back a little bit of mid range. And that might sound a little bit thin right now, but you got to keep in mind that there's also a double and then a whole bunch of stacks that are going on. Some of these things, like this EQ specifically, I remember adding it after I'd gotten all the background vocals back in. And that's just because when you add more of the same or the same voice, you're gonna get more frequency buildup and stuff. So I use this for a little bit of extra sculpting, and that's about it. Now on to the Pultec. So all this is doing is adding a little bit of articulation, a little 10K boost. I could have done it here on the magma strip, but I don't love how the high end boost sounds on this EQ. I like how it sounds on here. It's a lot smoother, a lot silkier. I didn't accommodate for any level changes with the trim on this thing. So while sometimes it can be bad that like louder and brighter is better because it's not necessarily better, in this case, I was happy with how it was going without any level trim. So let's just hear what it sounds like before and after.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
So it's just a little bit of brightness adding to that smiley face, sort of smiley face EQ sound. Maybe it's a little too much in this context, but because we have all this other stuff coming in later, it really helps with articulation. I don't always do 10K, and I don't always use the EQ. It really just depends on what I'm given. And the next we have an 1176. I really like how this particular one sounds. This is the Balcony Left 1176, which is an emulation of Greg Wells' personal 1176. It's got a little bit more like vibe to it, or whatever you want to call it. But I'm not doing a lot of gain reduction on it. You'll see.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Like not even 2 dB. It's just a squish for like the tasteful artifacts of compression, not necessarily to actually reduce the dynamic range, just to give some of that vibe. Like I said earlier, the dynamics and like the inflection of the voice and all that stuff is where the art lives in any vocal. So I didn't want to crush that. I wanted to preserve it as much as I could. But if you look through any of these vocal takes right here, like I split it and each word is gained up or down the way I want it to be in relation to the overall balance. That's where I take care of my dynamic range control, and then I use the compression afterwards to sort of juice it a little bit further. And then the only other thing on the lead vocal is a light reverb. Let's see, what do we use for this? I use Neoverb, which is a really great reverb from Isotope because it lets you audition a lot of ideas really quickly, which is really important for me in my workflow. I like to move fast in the beginning at least, so that I can just kind of get things where they need to be and then refine from there. This is what the reverb sounds like.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
It's really subtle.
All day,
right? Like you only hear it there because I paused everything, but
all day, I fiend for you always, all day.
And he is really particular about vocal effects, just like pretty much every artist is. He doesn't like a whole lot unless he specifies otherwise, which sometimes he does. I tend to just ask him that question before we even start on a new mix. I'll be like, hey, is this a drier one, or do we need it to be a little bit wetter than we may normally have it? Let's bring this double in. I very oftentimes from him get double tracks in the chorus just to beef things out. And he really likes the waves doubler directly on any of his stack layers because it widens it and it just gives it a nice, like, solid feel. It also raises the high end, so maybe thinking back, maybe adding more brightness after that wouldn't be necessary, but let's just listen to how it sounds.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Now you notice that because this double is put in here, the vocal feels thicker than it was because I did all that cutting and stuff. Like with this, if we take this out.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
I feel like it gets lost a little bit more, the lead does at least, and I want that to still be like the lead presence, the lead main focal point of the record. So that's why I decided to do this here. Every time I listen back to a mix, sometimes I like second guess myself, but he was really happy with the final product. So at the end of the day, if the artist is happy, then it's good. And I still think it sounds great. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, that's always the thing about hindsight, right? It's always 2020. So the double, because it's a double of the lead, I pretty much just cloned the same chain onto it. I can turn all that stuff off for now. There is a difference though. It's being sent to a modulation bus, and I will go one by one through this stuff. So here's the double with nothing.
All day, I fiend for you all.
Can't really hear it because again, it's not getting the 10 dB boost from the 1073.
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways all day.
And just that alone, obviously level wise is pretty good, but it's kind of dull. It needs a little bit more sheen. So that's where those 3 EQs come in, which could be done with one, but because of how, like I said earlier, I like the high end of the Pultec, it's a little bit less of a boost because we're already boosting the highs with the doubler. We don't need all of that same 3 dB. I also trimmed the output of this one, interestingly enough.
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways all day.
Right? And then add a balcony lift.
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways all.
You just watch that needle, I'm barely compressing it.
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways all day.
And then it is sharing the same reverb.
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways all day.
I will explain a little bit more about how I choose reverbs in a little bit. They tend to be like, if it's like a double is still the lead, but just like right behind it. So they tend to share a reverb so that they're kind of like one element and in the same space. And then like with his big stacks, you can see that one's going to a different reverb here. And then on the ad-libs, those are going to 2 different reverbs. They are going to reverb 1 because ad-libs, for him at least, he likes them to be still kind of like in line with the lead. But then also this one, I'm pretty sure I'm using, yeah, there's some automation on it. It's being sent as a throw just for one specific run. Because I remember him asking me, hey, this one particular part, I want more reverb on it. So rather than increasing the whole reverb of reverb 1, I send it to a different one for a different flavor and all that stuff. The last thing we have is sending it to a modulation bus, which is right here. And that's just a brigade chorus, which gives it a little bit more movement and kind of spreads it out a little bit more. It's really low in the mix though, minus 28.6, which is like super low.
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways all.
So like if I take it out,
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways.
the lead vocal and the double sound more like homogeneous. But if I put it in,
All day, I fiend for you all.
it pushes the double out a little bit wider so that it gives more space to the lead vocal in the middle. We can listen to that one time through.
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways all day. All day, I give you what you want. My baby, all day.
Yeah, so that's the doubles. You can add the ad-libs in. Now the ad-libs, again, because he wants them in line with the lead vocal most of the time. Not replacing it, but definitely like close to it. I again copied the same chain down. Also because it's hit the same voice the whole time. And it's all recorded on the same setup. For close situations, it can be, oh, that's interesting. Look at that. So I didn't end up cutting the same 250. Sorry, we're going to go back to the doubles. I didn't end up cutting the same 250 on the F6.
All day, I fiend for you all. Ways.
And that actually helps, one, the lead vocal stand out because the lead vocal is a little bit more mid-range present and doesn't have as much low mids. And then the double fills it out underneath and around it. Same thing with the ad-libs. That chain is, turns out it's actually different. The magma comes before the F6, but the same principles apply. It's like 1073 to bring it up because the tracks came to me kind of quiet and I didn't get his session that he recorded in. And then this is just cutting some mud and taming some low end, high passing it. This adds a little bit of mid-range into the recording, and then we add a little bit of articulation and brightness with the Pultec and squish it with balcony left.
All day, I give you what you want.
Right, so let's take these off. We're gonna leave the 1073 just for the levels.
All day, I give you what you want. I beg all day.
Add the EQs in.
All day, I give you what you want. I beg all day.
Add balcony left.
All day, I give you what you want. I beg all day.
And then we had 4 effect sends. So obviously the first reverb.
All day, I give you what you want.
Very subtle. Not a whole lot of stuff going on there. And also the modulation bus.
All day, I give you what you want. I beg all day.
Pretty cool. And then the width bus. So this is kind of like piggybacking off the modulation side of things, but with more spread and less movement. So what I use on there a lot is Microshift from Sound Toys, All the Way Wet with the third modeling. And again, super low in the mix. A lot of what I do is very, very small chips away at what's going on in an effort to preserve the art of the vocal and not step on it too much, but so that all these small decisions add up in the long run to a big payoff. So, no width.
All day, I give you what you.
Add the width.
All day, I give you what you want. I beg.
I don't blame you if you don't hear that. It's more of a feel thing, and even so, it's very, very subtle. The other thing about Microshift is it adds a little bit of high end into it, but in a different way than just EQing it would. It spreads it out, and it's kind of like a chorus effect, but not quite as much, and there's no like control over the rate like you do have here, like the rate and the depth. It's just one delay, and it spreads things out. That's really nice. Sometimes I put it on lead vocals, sometimes I don't. It really just depends on the vibe. Now, background vocals. The way I classify background vocals for him is like if it's not very clearly a double, but it's definitely not an ad-lib and it's definitely not a stack, it gets thrown in the background vocals group. So an example of those would be these guys.
Now give what you want, my babe, all day.
Which honestly, that all day is probably a double now that I'm looking back on it, but it's okay. It sounds great. So, but again, same treatment pretty much as the doubles. Literally everything's the same. The only reason I tend to separate them is because sometimes, like if there's a lot of stuff overlapping like this, like all these ad-libs are overlapping with these background vocals. If I do want to change something that's just on the background vocals, it's nice to have them on a separate group or a different aux. I will turn off everything except the 1073 again. We're listening to this falsetto right here.
Now give what you want, my babe. I give what you want, I beg all day.
Add the EQs.
I give what you want, I beg all day.
A little bit of squeeze.
I give what you want, I beg.
And then the effects.
I give what you want, I beg all day.
So yeah. Now onto the stacks. These are the bread and butter of any R&B song. Oh, actually, before I go to that, let's go to this third reverb right here that the ad-lib is being sent to just at this one point in time.
Is it better than you thought it was? Stay. Is it better than you thought it was? Is it better than you thought it was? Stay.
That's sort of like the moment of glory of the song. So if we take that off,
Is it better than you thought it was?
it's just not as like, look at this, you know?
Is it better than you thought it was?
Hold on, let me mute the stacks.
Is it better than you thought it was?
Right, so that's great because it kind of like shines the spotlight on that one belt ad-lib that he's just fully sending it on. But other than that, ad-libs are pretty straightforward. Again, sharing the reverb, the first reverb with everything else, because they're all sort of sitting in the same space, and it kind of, having things share effects is a great way to get glue in there without compressing everything. Not that compression is bad, but using it artistically is a challenge, and is honestly what tends to make or break mixes a lot of the time. Onto these ad-libs, or stacks, my bad. So it's all this stuff right here. This might seem overwhelming if you've never mixed an R&B song or just an artist that tends to use a lot of big stacks in general. Less is more. I'm going to tell you that right now. You don't have to do a whole lot, especially with like particularly this stack right here. Let's just solo it. Also, I disabled the processing chain on this, so let's turn that back on just for an example. It's fucking amazing, right? That sort of like rise that he said, like when he says day. Nuts. So I don't want to get rid of that. I want to accentuate that. So the way I tend to do that is by not compressing a whole lot and then doing some volume automation, which you can see that right here. Scroll down. Where is it? Right down here. This. Oh, actually what I can do is turn off automation like that. It doesn't rise as much. But if we turn it back on, you also get those little like vibratos that he has on each layer. They shine through more. So let's actually turn off the chain real quick. It's going to sound a little bit duller because I don't have all that EQ work going on. But the core of this sound is these doublers, which is on every single stack. And if we mute those, you'll hear that they're way more down the middle. But again, the balance between each of those layers as is great. And that's how he wanted it voiced. So if let's just add the doublers in. That widens them and boosts a little bit of high end. Add the 3 EQs. With these stacks, I want them to bloom around everything else. And a way to do that is thin them out a little bit more than you may normally on something else, and also widen them more. I want them to be a little bit further away because they're background vocals. And a way to do that is to thin out the low mids and the lows a little bit more. Not so much that they do sound thin, but so that they're not fighting everything else. And also, like, even just with this mic, the closer I get to it, the more low end is in my voice. That's called proximity effect. And the name kind of clues you in, like, the closer you are to something, the more low end you get. Even if you're, like, just talking to somebody in a room, you don't have to be talking into a microphone like this. Just next time you're with somebody, the closer you get to them, the more low end you're going to hear in their voice, and the further away you get, the low end is the first thing that's going to go, as well as some of the high end. But yeah, the further away you are from something should be obvious, tends to be the thinner it sounds. So in an attempt to push things away from me, we thinned it out a little bit with the EQ. Then again, another 1176. I also mixed this song while I was demoing this plugin, so I was like throwing it on everything just to see how it worked, and I ended up loving it, so it stayed. Nothing. Like just a tap. Really getting the transformer saturation out of it more than anything. So let's put everything back in. So reverb. Yes. So it's the width and the reverb. Those are the only two effects on the stacks. The width is again just to push it out further so that it kind of blooms up and around the lead vocals and everything. And then the reverb is the reverb, which is, again, really subtle. I think on this one, yeah, another neo-verb, except this one is going to be a little bit more dramatic. It's more plate and hall rather than the lead vocals, which is plate and reflections. So this one's a little bit more realistic sounding. This one's a little bit more dramatic.
I give you what you want, all I pay all day. Yeah, is it better than you thought thought it was.
And that's pretty much the whole vocal mix. Again, like if you look here on any of these, especially the stacks, all the stacks are automated to a certain extent. I like to automate everything in the long run, but a lot of what I did for the automation on the lead vocal is done on individual phrases and stuff before I even hit my compression. So that already by itself is pretty dynamic, and I didn't feel that it needed as much more like rides post processing, which is fine. It's just how I decided to do it for this one. And the last but not least, on the all vocals bus, which is receiving each of these auxes, like every vocal aux, plus all the vocal effects, all go to all vocals. I'm saturating the whole thing a little bit, which you guys have been hearing in the mix this entire time, because I completely forgot to turn it off, but we can A/B it right now. And that sounds like this.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
This preset sweetens it, which to me kind of just gives it a little bit extra, one, saturation, but two, a little bit more lift. So yeah, I love this tape machine. I don't always use it, but I do like to saturate on my vocals because it saturates everything together and gives it some glue, but also saturates the effects and kind of, again, makes everything feel like it's in one space.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
And then on the master, we've been listening to this whole mix with my master processing in the whole time, which is fine, but I can just A/B it real quick for you guys if you'd like to hear that. Should probably gain match this part as well. So this is the mix without any master processing.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day. All day, I give you what you want, what I pay.
We had mix head. This is a digital tape saturator. This version of this emulation is made by Metric Halo and Make Believe Studios, and it sounds very good.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Super subtle. Again, it's just saturation and like a tiny bit of lift, but nothing crazy. This is, again, piggybacking off the idea that I don't want to do everything in one fell swoop. I kind of want to chip away at it as I go. And then Ozone, pretty much just my master chain is Ozone most of the time. There's a lot of great stuff in Ozone. It's easy to overdo it, and it's easy to be discouraged by the first result that it gives you, but you kind of just got to tweak it a little bit. So without Ozone, this is also level matched.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Add it in.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day. All day, I give you what you want.
So there's this EQ, which master EQ, sometimes I'm like, why don't I just go back into the mix stems individually and like add the net value of whatever this is? But if you go in and do it on an individual level, it's probably not going to sound the same, because if you apply something to the whole mix, it's grabbing everything and adding that to it. Like maybe some of this is coming from a spot that I don't exactly know with my ear off rips. So rather than do it like across the whole mix, you can just do it on the master. That might not be the best move, to be completely honest, but at the same time, I like what it did. It's a pretty chill EQ. I also know that like this is really just a smiley face if we think about it. It's nothing crazy. It's just a little bit of lift and a little bit of low end boost. This is great because, again, I didn't get beat stems for this, so adding a little bit of extra bass into it is great, because I probably would have done that myself if I had the beat stems, but I didn't. So we can just A/B this.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day. All day, I give you what you.
Just turns the lights on a little bit. Impact. This is my favorite thing about Ozone. It's interesting that I put it at 100% because I don't always do this, but if we turn on Delta, this is both upwards and downwards multiband compression, but if you turn on the sync, you can sync the release times to the beat. So what I'll do is hit Delta and then scrub through the different subdivisions, and whichever one fits the like groove of the song the best is the one that I tend to pick. So if you turn this on and off,
all day, I fiend for you always, all day. All day, I give you what you want, all I beg, all day. All day, I fiend for you all.
kind of just livens it up a little bit. It's great. A lot of stuff that happens in this module I don't really know that I could exactly do any other way. I'm sure you could just like calculate the release times on like a reverb calculator, and that's how you could come up with this and just use another multiband compressor. But sometimes this will be upwards compression as well, which is really powerful. But it really just depends on what it gives you and what you want. Now, Imager is just width, but it's multiband width. So without it,
all day, I fiend for you always, all day. All day, I give you what you want, all I beg, all day.
that synth especially, that da-da-da-da, where is it at? This. Let's listen to that again. Without the Imager.
I give you what you want, all I beg, all day.
Put it in.
I give you what you want, all I beg, all day. I give you.
It spreads it out and helps it like wrap around the listener, which is what I like. I like mixes to feel full and like they're giving me a hug. Clarity is a sort of like reactive EQ thing that only happens in the mid-range and high end unless you change this, but I tend to leave it as is and very subtly. But let's listen to this without it.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day. All day, I give you what you want, all I beg, all day.
Just a little bit less dull with the clarity. If I crank this, it sounds terrible.
All day,
right? But that's why I go really low.
all day, I fiend for you all.
Stabilizer, this is similar to clarity, but it's the whole frequency range. And again, it's a reactive EQ, so if we crank it.
All day, I fiend for you all.
It's way too much. I think I had this on 19, right?
All day, I fiend for you all.
So let's listen to this without it.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
And then with it.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day.
Again, just like clarity, it's just a little bit more dull without it. A little less polished, if you will. I don't really like that word polish because sometimes the magic of the music is in the dirt and the grit. But for a song like this, a cleaner sound is great, and that's what he wants. Like, unless he specifies otherwise, which is why communicating with your artist is super important, because it's not your song, you're just helping them. Maximizer, this is where all the loudness comes in, so this is going to add quite a bit of level, but sounds good. On Maximizer, I'll just flip through these algorithms, see which one feels best, and then play with how much upward compression there is. On this one, I think I left it as is, but recently I've been playing with it more and doing it less, just because sometimes I feel like it changes it a little bit too much. But if we gain match this,
all day, I fiend for you always, all day.
this is how you're going to be able to feel the difference between these algorithms a little bit more. So I'll flip through some of these while it plays.
All day, I fiend for you always, all day. All day, I give you what you want, I beg, all day.
The two biggest differences between classic and modern for me are classic is a little bit warmer and modern is a little bit more like high fidelity, if you will. a little bit sharper. I most often land somewhere between classic and modern on IRC4 or IRC2. I don't really like any of these other ones, but we can listen to those just so you guys can hear.
All day, I fiend for you all way, all day. All day, what you want, what I pay.
Balance sounds good, but this modern really fills out everything quite a bit. So that's partially why I landed on modern. And then I just finish it with a limiter just for peak control and making sure nothing goes too wacky. I never use the character thing, but I'll flip between these modes sometimes. Tube tends to be the warmest. Analog feels a little bit fatter, and modern is like the cleanest. And because everything else on this mix was really clean already, I thought maybe some warmth could do, but we'll just listen to all the different modes.
All day, I fiend for you all way. All day, I fiend for you all. All day, I fiend for you all ways. All day, all day, I give you what you want.
So yeah, that's what that is. And then if we turn off gain match, then it's just gonna be ripping. But this is the final that got uploaded to streaming services. So
all day, I fiend for you all ways. All day, all day, I give you what you want, what I pay. All day.
I don't really care about loudness.
All day, I fiend for you all ways. All day, all day, I give you what you want, what I pay. All
I think short term, it's like -6.5 lufs, which is pretty fucking loud, to be honest. You can check out integrated.
all day, I fiend for you all ways. All day, all day, I give you what you want, what I pay. All day, yeah.
So I know integrated lufs is throughout the duration of what you're playing. So for the chorus, it's -12, which is still like a little bit louder than what Spotify's asking for. Fuck Spotify. But at the same time, yeah, loudness is not everything. It doesn't need to be super loud unless the record calls for it. That mindset builds off the idea of we're here to help the art and not hurt it. So yeah, -6.5 short term, and then -12 integrated. Probably a little bit louder integrated if I were to play the whole song. That's how I mix this song. It's out everywhere. Go stream it. You can also buy it on Even. So I will leave that link in the description. Support the artist, buy art directly from the art. You know, we're not making any money off Spotify. So you gotta do what you gotta do. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I will be breaking down all the songs I mixed for him going forward because we got some great stuff in the vault. And as it comes out, I'll do videos like this for all of them. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. If you'd like me to mix a record for you, there's a link in the description for all of my YouTube viewers to get 25% off my engineer's booking link. If my mix price is still way out of budget for you, shoot me a DM on Instagram or a message on YouTube, and I will do my best to work with your budget that you currently have available to you at this time. Thanks for your support, and I hope you guys learned something in this video. Peace.